Could there be some, I don't know, friction in the house of love in the environmental community over energy? From Complete Colorado and the Independence Institute, Simon Lomax. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
You know her, you love her. She keeps the Independence Institute running. Amy Oliver Cooke, thanks for being here.
Well, who's running the ship if we're both gone?
I don't care. That's more your problem than mine.
You're right. I have to clean up the mess.
You have to clean up the mess. All right. You've been doing some terrific work on Colorado reporting on Tom Steyer playing in Colorado. Your work has been published in a lot of places. You're not really a friend to the enviro community because you keep pointing out certain things. Tell me the latest thing about what seems to be a growing divide inside the left over energy.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story, and it's kind of been building behind the scenes for quite a while. You know, we think of political movements, even political parties, as these kind of uniform, united organizations. Well, in fact, they're actually quite divided, and especially on the left when it comes to energy and environmental issues. And the latest flashpoint has been Tom Steyer's effort to try to rope in a bunch of unions to help him raise money for the 2016 election. He got some teachers' unions to go in with him and the AFL-CIO to go in with him.
And again, Tom Steyer is the climate control rich guy out of California who's been playing in Colorado hard to make sure that Michael Bennet wins as part of his enviro agenda.
Right. He was the biggest single political donor of the 2014 cycle last year. And
mind you, but when the Kochs do that, that's terrible stuff. But when Tom Steyer does it, that's okay.
Yeah, let's just say that people are a little less curious about what Tom Steyer does for some reason. I can't imagine why. So the AFL-CIO and a bunch of teachers' unions have got this partnership now with Tom Steyer to raise about $50 million to put towards the 2016 election. And shortly after that partnership was announced, a funny thing happened, and that is a number of unions that are members of the AFL-CIO said, "What are you doing?" They went ballistic. And the reason that they did is that for several years now they have been watching the environmental movement, which wants to, block the kinds of jobs that create, construction. They want to block the kinds of projects that create construction jobs. They've been watching the Keystone Pipeline get blocked. They've been watching other pipeline projects get blocked. They've been watching power plants closing. And they're getting angrier and angrier about the environmental movement kind of taking over the Democratic coalition and leaving them out in the cold. So after this deal was announced where they were going to raise money with the AFL-CIO and the teacher unions, one of the nation's biggest construction unions, the Laborers International Union of North America, sent this letter to the AFL-CIO and saying this is a terrible deal and you should not move forward with this partnership.
Well, one of the things that has helped the left so much, you see it here in Colorado especially, is their incredible coalition building. You know, the whole idea of the blueprint, which took Colorado from a red state to a blue state, was that they brought in the environmentalists, they brought in the trial lawyers, they brought in the public sector unions, they brought in the teachers, they brought in all these naturally constituents that get more when government grows, even though they sometimes would bump into each other. And basically what I'm hearing is this relationship might be getting a little more messy. Not quite a divorce yet, just at marriage counseling stage. Is that a good way to put it?
I think a prime example in Colorado would be someplace like Adams County. Adams County, which is my one county to the south of me. So I live in Weld. Anybody who's watched Channel 12 before knows that I am a Weld County resident. And just to our south is Adams County, and it was a Democrat stronghold, but it is a
kind of a blue collar.
Yeah, blue collar. These are Reagan Democrats.
Right. This wasn't the Boulder County intelligentsia liberal. These were guys who had jobs, and they were union jobs, and that's why they were Democrats.
Well, and they're also blue collar, and yet you see a movement into Adams County to try and do things like put a moratorium on hydraulic fracturing, and you see them increasingly at odds with what I call the environmental movement, the environmental left, which is really power to the 1%. I mean, it is an elitist movement because it's designed to make electricity wildly expensive. I mean, and it's done on purpose. Paul Ehrlich, who, the population bomb, he even said giving affordable electricity to society is like giving an idiot child a machine gun. These are people who do not believe in affordable energy. I mean, it is keep it in the ground. They don't want to develop energy from fossil fuels. They only want it from sources like wind and solar, which are wildly expensive. So the average person, you know, at low income working families in Colorado can't afford it. That's why we call it power to the 1%. It is power for the 1%, these green movements. Tom Steyer, his electricity bill goes up, he can afford it. The average working guy, his electricity bill goes up, sometimes it gets shut off.
All right, and part of that coalition has always been that, you know, we represent working families. We represent poor families, but now poor families are paying more and more. Same thing when it comes to housing and urban growth boundaries. We're working for poor people, but we're putting you out of homes because you can't afford anything in the Denver metro area. Where does this go? How does this get solved? I mean, this is a natural tension that we saw during the pipeline debate, and Obama tried his best to dance this and dance this and dance this, and finally he had to side with the climate Shiites and said, "Well, sorry, you know, forget you working guys. I'm going over here." Does this coalition break? What would it cause? I mean, well, because that would be an earth-shattering thing to happen for the left.
Well, how about I read to you what some of these unions are saying about Tom Steyer,
all right,
and you can decide whether or not they're going to be needing to go to marriage counseling sometime soon. So this is LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, and they say about Tom Steyer, his vision of leaving oil and natural gas and other fossil fuels in the ground kills jobs, drives up energy costs, and threatens to strangle the economy. As a hedge fund billionaire, he may not feel the pain of such self-righteous, patronizing, unrealistic, and damaging policies, but our members and all American families do. Leave it in the ground is not a viable energy policy, it's political BS. And I should note, they didn't say BS in the letter, they used the full expression. It's one of the most distressed letters or communications that I've seen from organized labor about environmental policy for years. For instance, in the first term of the Obama administration, it was blue-collar Democrats, it was unions that stopped the big cap-and-trade bill, the big climate bill that was supposed to take care of all of this. It was those constituencies, organized labor and blue-collar Democrats, who stopped that legislation in its tracks. In the second term of the Obama administration, you've seen the opposite. You've seen when there's a close call, it goes to the environmentalists. And the unions are steadily seeing their influence over policies that can create, you know, good paying jobs that can support families. They're seeing their influence really diminished at the expense of these environmental groups.
So basically, the unions are waking up to the fact that this coalition is about ready to kill them. That if this continues, they're out of jobs. Let me play the other side, though. No. These jobs, certainly there's some transformation, but they're going to get wonderful jobs building windmills. The incredible amount of people it takes to build these projects, solar panels. You know, we see this transition in the economy all the time. So now the left is going to start sounding like libertarians, saying this is creative destruction. That's all this is. These people just need to be retrained, and there's more than enough jobs in the new energy economy for these labor folks.
Right. I think Delta County or some on the western slope have lost north of 700 coal mining jobs, paying $70,000 to $80,000 a year. These are people with benefits. Yeah, they could maybe get a job over in the new wind farm that Xcel Energy is building at a whopping $1.1 billion. It's going to create anywhere from 6 to 10 permanent jobs.
Where do you get that number? So they're going to spend $1 billion, Xcel, $1.1 billion.
Roughly.
And we're going to get 10 permanent jobs.
10 permanent jobs.
How do you know that?
According to Xcel Energy. So it's going to be 350 temporary construction jobs and 6 to 10 permanent jobs on a $1.1 billion project that makes no sense without the production tax credit subsidy. So Xcel, in an insult to ratepayers and taxpayers, dropped an application to expedite the timeline so we wouldn't even have time to analyze it. They want this whole thing done and approved by November 10th of this year so they can take full advantage of the production tax credit, which enriches them, not ratepayers.
All right, so I'm seeing all sorts of weird things.
But there are 10 jobs.
But there'll be 10 permanent jobs.
6 to 10.
Oh, that's good for $1 billion. All right, so what I'm seeing are a lot of role reversals going on here. So you've got unions going after environmentalists saying you're killing us, and then you have this cronyism, which I thought was only in Republican circles. But you look at this, what is a obviously crony deal with Excel, that if you rush through this massive $1.1 billion wind farm and don't give us, and let's not have the full time to get all the communities involved and have the feedback, talk to the counties, talk to the ratepayers, if you can rush this through, we'll be able to put up a $1.1 billion thing, which gets a rich company even more well. How wealthy is Xcel Energy? Well,
Colorado provides roughly 50% of Xcel's profits. The state of Colorado.
And this is a multi-state.
Yeah, yeah. They're headquartered in Minnesota. So Colorado ratepayers provide Xcel, Minnesota-based Xcel, with roughly half of its profit. And Xcel's profits, since the new energy economy, has roughly doubled. I mean, so they're doing well in Colorado.
So in other words, Colorado's profits and what they're giving from ratepayers
goes to Minnesota.
Goes to Minnesota and other states.
But environmentalists like Tom Steyer and others who prefer unreliable, expensive wind power, they feel good. Meanwhile, coal miners, they're put out of work. But 700 jobs to 10. You do the math.
But 10 permanent jobs. 10 permanent jobs. Simon, thank you. Amy, as always, thank you. Listen for me on KHOW Radio. Check out the Independence Institute. That's independenceinstitute.org, and we'll see you next week.